late August, a chilling discovery was made on a dark, secluded road in Michigan. The body of 32-year-old Jenny Webb, who was 8.5 months pregnant, was found hanging from the luggage rack of her own car with an electrical cord around her neck. At first glance, it appeared to be a suicide. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a web of deceit that would shock the community and reveal a betrayal of the worst kind. Jenny Webb was described by her loved ones as the sparkle of the family. She had a magnetic personality that drew people to her, and she approached life with a positive attitude. Jenny was excited about becoming a mother and had been preparing for the arrival of her son, whom she planned to name Braxton, though the pregnancy had come as a surprise. Jenny didn't realize she was pregnant until she was 5 months along. She embraced the journey of single motherhood with enthusiasm. The father of Jenny's baby was a man she had known for about 10 years. He was married, though Jenny was under the impression he was separated from his wife. When they began an intimate relationship, Jenny had no illusions of a future with this man and was focused on raising her son on her own. He had a good job, recently bought a house, and was looking forward to starting this new chapter in her life. On the night of her death, Jenny had plans to meet with the baby's father to discuss child support and putting his name on the birth certificate. Earlier that evening, she had been at her best friend Andrea's house, helping with Andrea's newborn twin girls. When Jenny left around 9 p.m., the last thing she said to Andrea was, "See you tomorrow, same time." Those would be the last words Jenny's best friend would ever hear from her. A couple of hours later, Jenny's body was discovered on a secluded road. The first officers on the scene were Kenneth Blue and Tim Patterson of the Buena Vista Township Police Department. Officer Blue was the one who initially found Jenny's body and called it in as an apparent suicide. A folded piece of paper found in Jenny's purse appeared to be a suicide note, in which Jenny claimed she had lied about the identity of her baby's father, felt like a failure, and saw suicide as the only way out. However, Jenny's family and friends were immediately suspicious. They insisted that Jenny was not suicidal and would never have taken her own life, especially not when she was so close to giving birth to her son. Jenny's mother, Dawn Webb, said that if Jenny had written a suicide note, it would have been handwritten in her own style, likely in a glitter pen and in purple, green, or ink. The typed, formal note found at the scene was completely out of character for Jenny. As the investigation progressed, Detective Sergeant Sean Waterman made a shocking discovery. When he asked Jenny's family who the father of her baby was, they revealed it was none other than Officer Kenneth Blue, the very same police officer who had found Jenny's body and was first on the scene. This revelation turned the case on its head. Now, investigators had to consider the possibility that one of their own was a married police officer, had not only fathered Jenny's child, may have been involved in her death. The Michigan State Police took over the investigation. Detective Sergeant Alan Ogg, the lead investigator. As they examined the evidence, red flags began to appear. Forensic scientists found several crucial pieces of evidence near the scene: a cigarette butt, a necklace charm, and a blood spot. DNA testing would later reveal that the cigarette butt matched Officer Blue's DNA. The necklace charm matched Jenny's DNA, and the blood spot also belonged to Jenny. Investigators also discovered that Officer Blue had been strangely silent on his police radio for about an hour and a half leading up to the discovery of Jenny's body. When his colleague, Officer Patterson, finally found him, Blue appeared disheveled and out of breath. A key piece of evidence came from Jenny's phone, where Blue was listed as KenCop BV in her contact. Phone records showed that Jenny and Blue had exchanged 3 calls on the night of her death, corroborating the planned meeting to discuss the baby. When interviewed by investigators, Blue initially denied having any sexual relationship with Jenny or being the father of her child. However, as the evidence mounted against him, he changed his story and admitted to sleeping with her once. The autopsy revealed that Jenny had not died by suicide, but had been murdered. Kanu Virani, the former Saginaw medical examiner, determined that Jenny had died from suffocation due to a chokehold. The ligature mark from the electrical cord was found to have been made post-mortem. Jenny's body showed bruising on her hands, arms, face, chest, and neck, indicating a struggle. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a latex glove tip found on Jenny's clothing. DNA testing showed Blue's blood on the outside of the glove tip and Jenny's blood and saliva on the inside. This suggested that Jenny may have bitten Blue's finger during the assault, causing him to bleed. Blue's blood was found in numerous locations: in the extension cord wrapped around the roof rails of Jenny's vehicle, on her clothing, in her car, in his patrol vehicle, and on his uniform. When asked to provide his uniform, Blue initially gave investigators a set of clothes that appeared unworn. Second, blood-stained uniform was later found stashed under the rear seat of Blue's truck. Fingerprint evidence also tied Blue to the crime. A bloody fingerprint found on Jenny's car matched Blue's right index finger, which showed signs of recent injury. This injury was consistent with the theory that Jenny had bitten Blue's finger during the struggle. Perhaps the most incriminating evidence was found on the alleged suicide note. 14 latent fingerprints were discovered on the back of the note, all matching Officer Blue. Crucially, these prints showed no signs of the injury to Blue's finger, suggesting that he had handled the note before the altercation with Jenny. This indicated premeditation and firmly dispelled any notion of Jenny's death being a suicide. Based on the evidence, investigators theorized Blue had met Jenny at the secluded location, likely to discuss the child support and birth certificate issues. At some point, the conversation turned violent. Blue, who was trained in chokeholds and even served as a trainer himself, used this technique to overpower Jenny. The struggle left both of them bleeding, Jenny from her nose as she was being killed, and Blue from the bite on his finger. After killing Jenny, investigators believe Blue loaded her body into the back seat of her own vehicle and drove it to where it was later found. He then staged the scene to look like a suicide, tying the extension cord around Jenny's neck and to the car's roof rack before pushing her body out. A search of Blue's home and computer revealed more incriminating evidence. Extension cords, similar to the one used in the crime, were found in a drawer, with an empty space suggesting one had been removed. Blue's computer showed searches for topics such as the best way to commit suicide and the most painless way to commit suicide, as well as information about vascular compression and strangulation. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Blue maintained his innocence. His sister, Debbie Dennis, staunchly defended him, suggesting that Jenny may have taken her own life or that the evidence against her brother had been planted. However, none of these claims of police misconduct were ever substantiated. Kenneth Blue was arrested and charged with 4 counts, including first-degree murder and assault on a pregnant individual, intentionally causing miscarriage or stillbirth. His trial lasted over 3 weeks, prosecution calling 31 witnesses. The defense called only 1 witness, and Blue himself never took the stand. After just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Kenneth Blue guilty on all counts. At the sentencing, Jenny's mother, Dawn Webb, addressed Blue directly, calling him an evil monster, and expressing hope that the memory of his actions would haunt him for the rest of his life. Blue was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His wife filed for divorce just days after his arrest. Blue has continued to maintain his innocence and has appealed his conviction all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court, but his requests for a new trial have been denied. The case of Jenny Webb and Kenneth Blue shocked the community of Buena Vista Township and beyond. It was a stark reminder that sometimes those sworn to protect and serve can betray that trust in the most heinous ways. For Jenny's family and friends, pain of her loss and that of her unborn son Braxton continues to be a daily struggle. Detective Sergeant Alan Ogg, who led the investigation, reflected on the uniqueness and difficulty of the case. "I have never in my 30-year career seen a case like this one," he stated. The fact that the perpetrator was a police officer added layers of complexity and emotion to an already tragic situation. Despite the horror of the crime, investigators and Jenny's loved ones take some solace in the fact that Jenny fought back fiercely in her final moments. Her struggle not only left crucial evidence that helped solve the case, but also revealed her strength and determination to protect her unborn child. Dawn Webb believes that divine intervention played a role in ensuring justice for her daughter and grandson. "I truly believe God made her do what she did. Bit his finger and left all that evidence," she said. This evidence was crucial in building the case against Blue, and ultimately securing his conviction. The case serves as a reminder of the importance of thorough forensic work and persistent investigation. Even when a crime scene is staged to mislead, careful examination and analysis can reveal the truth. It also highlights the devastating impact of domestic violence and the importance of supporting and believing victims. For the community of Buena Vista Township, the case was a betrayal on multiple levels. Not only had a young woman and her unborn child been murdered, but the perpetrator was someone who had sworn to protect and serve the community. The case eroded trust in law enforcement and left many questioning how well they really knew those around them. However, as Dawn Webb pointed out, while a bad cop killed her daughter, it was the good cops who brought him to justice. The dedication and skill of the investigators, forensic scientists, and prosecutors ensured that Kenneth Blue would be held accountable for his actions. The tragic story of Jenny Webb and her unborn son Braxton continues to resonate with many. It serves as a stark reminder of the potential for betrayal and violence, even from those we should be able to trust, but also as a testament to the power of forensic science and dedicated law enforcement in uncovering the truth and achieving justice. As the community continues to heal from this tragedy, many hope that Jenny's story will raise awareness about domestic violence, particularly in cases involving law enforcement officers. Her bravery in her final moments provided crucial evidence, ensures that even in death, Jenny played a key role in bringing her killer to justice and potentially protecting others from a similar fate. The case of Jenny Webb and Kenneth Blue will likely be remembered for years to come, not only for its shocking nature, but also as an example of how determined investigation and forensic work can unravel even the most carefully staged crime scene. It stands as a somber reminder of the value of every life and the importance of seeking justice, no matter who the perpetrator may be.